What's going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing good, having good rides, being safe. I just wanted to talk about tires. I know it's not like the most exciting subject for a lot of people, and I think it's very important because a lot of people neglect their tires. Most don't even check their pressures like between trips to the shop. For instance, the last bike I bought, I think it had 12 psi in the front tire. I mean, it had just been sitting there forever, and the guys just handed me the keys. Go ahead, go for a ride. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about is sport touring tires and the comparison between Bridgestone and Michelin, and is the extra money for the Michelins worth it in the end? Because depending on the model and the size, there can be like a $55 difference from rear to rear. First thing I wanted to talk about was longevity and break-in. I guess it's two things. Maybe it's all things. The Bridgestones, in my experience, tend to break in a lot faster. Like, I had the Battlax 016s, and now I have the 23s, and both tires broke in about 60 to 80 miles. You could just tell they were scrubbed in. The Michelin, I have a Pilot Road 4 on the 1000. It took like almost 200 miles for that thing to look scrubbed in. It looked brand new forever. Meanwhile, the feedback and the confidence it kind of gave you wasn't exactly there either. I guess I ride really light on my tires. They last usually a lot longer than the suggested range. So maybe that has to do with it. Your mileage may vary, of course. But I ride year round. If it's not raining, I'm on two wheels. So I noticed over a period of a year, Bridgestone tires, they would last from like, I would buy a new tire in October, and the next October I'd be hitting 16, 18,000 miles. I'd be ready for a new tire. And I keep up with my pressures. I run them what the manufacturer suggests. Sometimes I run them 1 psi over. It depends. Sometimes two. But I try to keep on top of it. So, short story, I had the 016s on the SV. And that tire, I think I stretched it to 18,000 miles. And, it was feeling kind of ratty and rough. I don't think I was past the wear bar yet. I don't like to ride my tires that far in case I get caught in the rain. But I swapped it out for a Michelin Pilot Road 2. And the smoothness of the Michelin compared to the Bridgestone, new to new, so much different. Like I said, initial feedback, the Bridgestones, they feel closer to a sport tire when they come up to temp. Like, they seem to come up to temp a little faster, and they give you that earlier confidence than the Michelin did. Like, the Michelin takes a little bit more work to come up to temperature, but once it does, it feels great. It's just, I do so much straight up riding, it's hard for me to actually make it into some corners with some temperature in my tires. I'm always being very ginger and everything. So if you're looking for a tire that feels like it comes up to temp more, but it seems to like wear out much more consistently. I mean, I'm talking when it starts to get towards the end of its life, I could pull into the garage and see rubber dust that was starting to wear off. So I think it has a very finite life, and it's hard to stretch it. Back to the Michelin Pilot Road 2s I had, I was at, I think the total mileage I went on those had to be like 32 to 34,000 miles on a rear. And I know that sounds maybe a little outlandish on the SV, but it's a very light bike. And like I said, I'm light on my tires and I keep track of my tire pressures. I rode that one down to the wear bar too. I mean, I was on the wear bar when I knew I needed a new tire. And the week of, I was headed to Metric Method to get my new rear. And I got caught in a downpour, like a blinding downpour. And I had Road 2s on front and back at the time. And I mean, I couldn't see 10 feet in front of the bike. And this was in Irvine. And in my head, I'm like, okay, the center of my tire is flat. I need to be careful. I need to slow down. I can't see anything. People can't see me. And even though the Michelin was down to the wear bar, the bike never made any weird, scary movements. It never felt like it was getting out on me or hydroplaning. And I mean, the water was pooling on the road. I never got caught in a downpour like that on the Bridgestones, but the confidence I had in the wet performance of the Michelins versus the Bridgestones is pretty big. I would much rather trust the Michelins on wet, greasy roads than a Bridgestone. So, is it worth the extra $55? You know, you're at the shop, you're going, crap, I gotta spend $220 on a Michelin or $165 on a Bridgestone. And that initial price plus installation, the Bridgestone sounds pretty good. But do you want to be coming back exactly a year later if you ride like me? Do you want to burn through a tire in a year? Or do you want to be able to go longer? I think I rode with that Michelin for almost 2 years. I mean, I had gotten a new bike and I worked it into my rotation. So that played into its longevity, I think. But I had another thought too. It's always good to get into the shop and have trained mechanics, technicians look at your bike, because you never know what they're going to find. And if you luck out, you have a reliable bike, you're never going in for tires or brakes, like I tend to do, like forever. The front brakes on the SV lasted 40-something thousand miles or so. Same with the rear. You know, I just wasn't going in that often. I'd only go in to when my chain will wear out or when my tires will wear out. So getting the softer, stickier tire, you know, quote unquote, is that better because you'll be going in more frequently and you'll be having a professional like getting their hands on your bike? Or is it worth the investment to go longer periods of time on the same tire? It's up to you. I mean, you have to keep an eye on the tire, make sure it's not weathered, cracked, wearing weird, and you got to really keep up with the pressures to make sure they last as long as they can. Personally, I like having Michelins. I think they give me a little more confidence once they come up to temperature. I know they're going to last a long time, so my money's a little more spent. It goes further, literally. So the $55 to go almost another year versus dropping another $165. I mean, it's a longer period of time spending the money, but the money is still spent. So anyway, just wanted to give you guys some things to consider, and hopefully my advice, you know, helps somebody out. I know that there aren't a lot of tire comparison videos out there of brand to brand, and when you go on forums, it's like everyone says this tire is the greatest. I changed to this tire and it was so great, and I'm only going to use this tire from now on my bike. But what's the context of their experience? Do they ride 1,200 miles a year, or do they ride 20,000 miles a year? And how, you know, there's a lot to take into consideration. How they maintain them, how hard they ride on them. Are they doing canyons? Are they just doing, you know, highway and commuting? I don't do a lot of canyons. I don't have the time to get out. So I need to have that longevity straight up, but I want to have confidence inspiring grip when I get into the on-ramps and stuff that are fun. So anyway, I hope this helped. If this video sucks, I'm sorry. Just got off the road. It's been a long week. And maybe I'll reshoot it again sometime when I have collected more thoughts and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, you guys, take care, ride safe, and be good to each other out there. Later.